Hello folks, welcome to KU Pathshala. My name is Ramon Dharmarajan. I'm a chartered accountant and I'm here to introduce you to this amazing course called Chartered Accountancy and at the same time debunk a few myths that are clouding this profession. So shall we get on to it? Now, if you're a student of 11th or 12th or 10th, then inevitably you would have come across any private coaching center or any teacher or maybe a relative of yours who will tell you the following things. Son, daughter, child, do CA. You just have to sign. Just sign and they'll give you lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So as a chartered accountant, as a teacher, I've been teaching for the past 6 years almost. And I tell my students when I teach at the intermediate and final level, I ask them, do you remember that uncle of yours who told you that you'll be earning lakhs and lakhs just by putting signature? And they're like, yes sir, we do. What do you have to tell them now? And they kind of get furious because a lot of students are lured into this course by showing all these fancy, gimmicks of money pouring in, of the respect, of the status you get, of that cousin who did CA and who's doing so well, of this cousin who did CA and doing so well. So there's a lot of myth around this course, and as a teacher, as someone who interacts with students, who teaches students, I often find that students are kind of lured and trapped into this dream world, and when they come to terms with reality, it comes as a rude shock. So let us declutter some of that and let us understand what it is that a chartered accountant actually does. I genuinely feel that any student walking into, although I realize that the best way to lure a student into this course is, beti, you will get crores, you will get lakhs. That's the best way to lure. But I genuinely feel that students have to understand what entails being a chartered accountant. What does a chartered accountant do? What is the job? And sadly, this is something even I realized only after I joined the course. So to my, successors, let us understand what it is that a chartered accountant does. Now, a chartered accountant is an expert in 3 domains. The first domain is accountancy and audit. Now, if you're a commerce student, you know what accountancy is. Let me, however, break it down to you in a little gentle way. So, any organization, the apartment I'm living in right now, the school I studied, the institution I run, any organization needs proper records of what has happened during the year. So, at the end of the year, you can analyze what has happened over the past 1 year. How much have you earned? How much have you spent? What have you spent on? These records are required to be maintained. And now when I talk about a business organization and a large business organization, these records get really complicated. One organization that I had the opportunity of auditing was a bank. Now this bank, it was a small bank. It had deposits of over 20,000 crores at the time, and it had made advances, loans of close to 15,000 crore rupees. And this is a small bank. Think of the big banks. Now, an organization such as this has thousands of employees, hundreds of branches sprawled across the country. Just think about what is the scope for every employee to, just swindle some money out of this organization. What will happen to the investors when they find out that the money is being lost? It's being swindled away. It's imperative for the organization that's responsible to all its investors, to its depositors, to make sure that their money is safe. Where is it safe? It is properly accounted. It's properly accounted. It's imperative for the organization to show that these are the accounts. And this is where your good money is being spent. This is where your good money is being invested. Now, why would a depositor, you have made a deposit in State Bank of India. You have invested money in State Bank of India. Why should you believe that organization when they say that they have spent it fairly? So now you need an expert stepping in who goes through the accounts and certifies that these accounts present a true and fair view. These accounts present a true and fair view. That is what a chartered accountant does, and that is what is meant by audit. According to Section 139 of the Companies Act, every company is required to audit their financial statements. Every company. According to Section 44AB of the Income Tax Act, any business that has a turnover over 1 crore is required to audit their financial statements, and these audits are to be conducted by chartered accountants. And now when a chartered accountant steps into this role of auditing financial statements that has 20,000 crores of deposited, lakhs of depositors, 15,000 crores of advances, this person or this organization that does the audit has to be a genius, because there are millions of transactions that he has to go through. Ensure that there are proper financial controls to make sure there are no slippages or leakages. Make sure that money is protected and any loss is properly reported. This is the primary function, primary domain of a chartered accountant. The second domain of expertise is finance. Now, any organization will require an advanced level of decision-making procedure for their financial requirement. Now, let's look at an organization, say Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries recently ventured into the telecommunication sector. They started a new business called Jio. Now, is it viable? Before, not now, but before making the decision, Mukesh Ambani sir would have inquired, is this business viable? How much money do we have to invest into this? What kind of profits will I make out of this investment? Will the profits recover my investment? Will I be able to recover my investments? Will I be able to generate gains and also give proper returns to my shareholders? Okay, fine, the investment is viable. How do I make money? How do I invest? Do I invest on my personal funds? Do I ask my fellow shareholders to invest money, or do I borrow from a bank? How do I go about this? Now, this kind of decision making requires an advanced level of expert knowledge in the concepts of finance, costing, accounting, tax, GST, law, and all of that put together. This is a domain of expertise for chartered accountants. Chartered accountants take up roles of CFO and CEOs in many big organizations in the country, big and small, many organizations in the country, and this is a role that we fulfill, and this again requires an advanced level of knowledge and a lot of effort. The third category that chartered accountants are most famous for, I get calls from estranged friends that I last spoke to in 11th and 12th. They call me up, make small talk, and eventually say, dude, can you just file my income tax return? So this is another domain we are notorious for, is tax, both income tax and GST. Now this is something that again every business struggles with. How do they save on taxation? How do they reduce their tax liability? And at the same time, a chartered accountant must maintain the highest level of integrity to ensure that any organization that goes about its business of saving taxation does not take an illegal route. Whatever you do is legal, is within the books, and you maintain the highest level of integrity so that eventually the client or your employer doesn't fall into major trouble. And more importantly, that you do the rightful thing to do as a citizen of this country. Tax in India is a very, very complicated subject. It is too deep. It is too broad. The earlier section I quoted, section 44AB, I just happened to mention section 44AB, every company with a turnover of 1 crore. I recently spoke to my friend and he was explaining the kind of nuances that come into that one section. It can be 1 crore, it can be 2 crore, it can be 5 crores, it can be 10 crores, depending on the situation. There are so many nuances, so many provisos that you have to be so comfortable and fluent with. That is a kind of advanced knowledge that is expected from a chartered accountant. You as a consultant or you as an employee are required to help your client or your employer navigate this vicious circle of both income tax and GST. Now just look back upon the video, just go back and ask yourself, beyond the money, beyond the prestige and the social status, what I just explained to you, and they are just the broad avenues available to you. There are so many other avenues like systems audit, costing, so many other options available to you. But what I just said now, is that exciting? Or do you feel that is boring? Did you feel when I spoke about finance or audit, did you think, hey, that sounds interesting, I'd like to know more? Did you think to yourself, I'd like to know more? Or that job, I'd like to do that job. I think I'll be good at that job. Did you tell yourself that you think you'll be good at this job? Well, then, no doubts over there, CA is the career you have to go ahead with. Let me briefly explain to you what is the procedure to enter into CA. CA course has broadly 3 levels. There is the foundation, intermediate, and the final level. If you have completed 12th, the board exams happen around March. Post lockdown, hopefully we'll fall into schedule and the board exams will happen in March. And if the board exam happens in March, you can write the first foundation exam in the upcoming November attempt. Foundation exam happens twice a year, May and November. After your board exams, you can write your exam in November. There are 4 subjects in CA Foundation: accountancy, law, economics, and maths. And of course, business communication and business and commercial knowledge are the other subjects you have to come across. Basically, 4 papers. You have to cover the 4 papers, and if you completed foundation, you go on to the next stage, which is intermediate. Now, in intermediate, things start to get a little trickier. First of all, the knowledge required at the intermediate level is much more advanced, way more advanced than the foundation, of course, and it's a fairly advanced level of knowledge that is being tested at the intermediate level. The really tricky part is intermediate has 8 papers that are divided into 2 groups. Group 1 has 4 papers and group 2 has 4 papers. Now the trick is you have to clear one group at a time. You can definitely clear both groups together, but it's mandatory that you clear one group at a time, which is one group has 4 subjects. You must score 40% in each subject, and put together you are required to score 200 marks. And if you don't clear in any one of the 4 subjects, you slip out of the 40 in any one of the 4 subjects, or you fail to get 200 marks in the 4 subjects put together, you fail the entire group. It's not just that one paper, it's the entire group that you fail. And that's where things in intermediate start to get challenging. The average pass percentage, which is a figure I request my students not to look at, however, it's somewhere around 20 to 30%. It is a rigorous course, it is an advanced course, it requires hard work and effort. And this hard work will only come from a place of passion. Only if you're passionate, only if you enjoy the subject, you enjoy taxation. When the professor comes to your class and explains section 44EB or section 32 depreciation, when he says that, when he or she says that, you feel excited, you feel thrilled. That is required. If you feel this whole thing is a chore, then things will be very difficult. After intermediate begins the most beautiful phase of this curriculum, which is the 3-year period of articleship, where you are required to work as an assistant to a chartered accountant, work in a CA firm. And that's the real beauty of this course, because you gain 3 years of experience even before you complete the course, which is right after you qualify, you are walking out of this course with experience of 3 years. You know what happens at the workplace. You know how files are organized. You know how reporting happens. You know the procedures of a workplace. And this is the edge that chartered accountants have over any other course, especially the foreign courses. We come with experience. That's why we get the beautiful starting salaries. Having said that, during the 3 years articleship, you will have a very tough time managing work and studies, because after articleship, you will have to write your final exam. 2.5 years into the articleship, you can write your final exams, which is a very advanced level of learning. It's an expert level of knowledge that is expected at the final level. And this preparation will come during your articleship period. So you'll have to walk a trapeze, walk a ropeway of managing your classes, your work, your personal life and your studies. All that will have to be juggled about and managed, and that's the really tough part of CA. Now there's the alternate route you can come. If you've completed BCom, then you can avoid the whole foundation thing and directly come into the intermediate level. But however, after BCom, you will directly be stepping into articleship. And only 9 months after articleship, you can write your intermediate exam. So this whole juggling of classes, studies and work will start from inter. The advantage of doing BCom is that you can avoid foundation and you can directly move into articleship, which is the advantage. However, the disadvantage is that the struggle starts from the inter level itself, which is quite a painful procedure. Now, what to choose? Do you choose CA right after 12th or do you choose CA after BCom? It's a completely personal choice. My own principal, late Mahesh sir, would say that definitely you have to go for BCom. You have to get the college experience. You have to learn life at college. That's what he used to say. I know other professors and lecturers who also say that don't waste 3 years in college, come right to CA. So there's a mixed opinion over there. The choice is completely yours. It's a personal one. I am not making any claims. But this is the course structure of chartered accountancy. After chartered accountancy, jobs are open to you. I've not heard of a chartered accountant who has not got a job after CA. Jobs are kind of, you may have to struggle, but jobs are kind of assured to you. You have opportunities to do foreign courses. If you plan to do ACCA, out of the 13 papers, you only have to write 5 papers after CA. If you plan to do CPA Canada, you only have to write 4 papers. If you plan to do CPA Australia, you only have to write 2 papers. So there are a lot of opportunities in foreign education, and even within the course, you have practice. You can set up your own practice or you can go to employment. Opportunities are aplenty. And it is true that you will make a good deal of money and you will enjoy a certain social status that comes only with a chartered accountancy. But the struggle you have to go through to get there and the struggle you have to do after you clear final. After you clear final, the job starts. Every year income tax changes. Every year GST changes. GST rather changes much more frequently than we'd like. The accounting standards change, the auditing standards change. You have to continuously keep yourself updated, continuously learn. New accounting softwares come into the market. You have to learn the new accounting softwares, the new auditing practices. You have to keep yourself updated, continuously learn, continuously expand your horizon and put a great deal of effort. The signature that fetches you lakhs, there is a lot of effort that goes into that signature. And there's something my uncle told me right before, when I was in school, right before I started this course. It's that, you should be a chartered accountant. The point is not to become a chartered accountant. The point is that you have to be a good chartered accountant. You have to excel at what you do. And that is ultimately what is required in this profession, that you excel. The curriculum kind of prepares you to excel because articleship, intermediate, final, everywhere you're required to excel and only the excellent clear. But then you have to carry forward that practice of excellence. It's a beautiful career, guys. It's an amazing career filled with opportunities and filled with love. And if you love the subject, you will prosper, you'll be very happy, you will cherish your life. But if you're coming in with false expectations and false dream castles of money and luxury without the effort, it's a rough road ahead of you. Do think about it, talk to your seniors, talk to chartered accountants and make an informed decision. That's all I have to tell you. Signing out.